So my neighbor's been trying to shoot at me. This isn't some kind of clickbait. Real guns shooting at me, toward me. I even have bullet holes in my building now. And it's been going on for a while. And I really need to figure out what I'm going to do. So in this video, I'm going to talk about just what I've been dealing with being shot at for, I guess, the last several months. I guess you could say I've been being shot at. And how it's escalated, and then what law enforcement's doing now, which honestly, I don't know what to do with the current situation and how things are set up. So what do you do when your neighbor's shooting at you? Let me start by just giving you a little backstory about the property. I bought this property, it's about 7 years ago now, and it's about 20 acres of industrial property. Before I had it, it was a helicopter school. Before that, it was like a trucking place. It was a trucking depot, but it had sat vacant for quite a while. And so I fixed up the fencing, fixed up some stuff, and I started doing truck storage is kind of the primary thing I do here. And I have a little trucking company myself, but I primarily do truck parking. You would call it truck storage, long-term stuff. People that live in the area and they need a place to put their truck when they're at home. I have just the best customers, guys and gals that park their truck here. So things have been pretty good, and it's been peaceful pretty much the most of the time I've been here. Not a lot of problems. And one of the nice things about the property is it's buffered on every side with wooded area. So on the east side, it's basically half a mile till you get to anything with woods. North side wooded, west side 20 acres before you get to a neighborhood, and then on the south side it's wooded. We have a busy road on the south side, okay, where you have a lot of traffic, but that's about 1,200 feet from my building. And then we have one road on the west side which goes right by the building, but this road's a dead-end road. I'm the only building on it. There's no one else on the road with utilities. The only thing at the end of this road is a city dump site where they take, debris that they get out of ditches and stuff, and they dump it back there. And then we have a police shooting range with the city. They use it maybe once a month, and I can tell when they're using it because there's like a line of cop cars, right, that go down there to shoot. And since they're shooting at the end of the road and away from me, it really doesn't even bother me when they're down there shooting at all. So with that said, I really don't have a lot of neighbors. I don't even know. I have one small group of neighbors maybe that's clear on the other side of that 20 acres I was talking about on the west side. That's the only neighbors that are even remotely close to me. And I think that's where maybe I'm having the problem. So over the course of the last several months, there has been an increase in the intensity of the gunshots. And it started to alarm me probably January and February. What was happening is I would notice when I'd go outside and work in the yard, when I'd go outside, maybe work on a truck or do something, I started to notice that that's when the gunshots started taking place. And I was like, that's kind of weird that there's no gunshots. I walk outside, I put a wrench to something, and all of a sudden it's time for target practicing. It started making me suspicious. And so when you feel like you hear the gunshots that are so close, you duck. You're like, oh, something could be coming my way. Maybe somebody's making a mistake. And so you would duck down and stuff like that. But I started to just say, okay, I'm going to ignore that. And I'm not going to do these, reactions, because I started to think, well, if someone was watching me, maybe they're getting a kick out of that. That is illegal. But, I said, maybe it'll go away. That was the lie I started telling myself. Anyway, as I started to ignore this stuff, I think it was upsetting people who were doing it. And so what would happen is they would start with like a small caliber, and they'd notice I didn't react. Well, then they'd pull out something big, and this would shake everything. So it would shake the truck. It would shake, if I was working on a truck, it would shake the ground, and my dog would become hysterical. He was freaking out. So I was like, okay, this is not good either, because he's like trying to crawl all over me when I'm trying to do something. So yeah, alarm bells were going off. Then things changed on March the 1st. March the 1st, I had a guy who is a customer, he's a truck driver. He was doing something with his car on a Saturday and I wasn't here. And he said that it started with small caliber and then they pulled out something big because it didn't really scare him, I guess. They pulled out something big. Boom, 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 boom. And he said, okay, I got to call the sheriff's department. So he called the sheriff's department. He didn't stick around because it took him 20 minutes to get here, and he took off. And I saw on camera the sheriff's department arrive. And he left in his truck before I could talk to him, and he came back on March the 15th. And I said, okay, I probably got to do something about this because if my customers start getting afraid of gunfire, then I've got an issue. So March the 15th, he comes back. He comes in the yard, and as soon as he turns off his truck, I'm out there, right, in the yard to talk to him about this event, see what happened, see what was going on. As soon as he turns the ignition off, they start shooting the guns. Boom, 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 boom. I said, okay, now I've got a problem, and I'm going to have to figure this out. So after March the 15th, I decide I'm going to have to take some action. This is not going to be able to continue on because I really think they're trying to terrorize and scare people or scare me by using a gun. That is a felony. That's prison time. And it's also kind of a difficult case to make. So what I decided to do, and I didn't tell anyone I was going to do this, I decided I was going to document every time gunshots went off, where I was when it happened, and I was going to keep a video recording of those gunshots. And I was going to document this thing out very carefully so that this wouldn't happen again. And I even got this special book. Actually, I found it in a truck I had bought, which was very helpful. It has a calculator, so I can calculate the number of bullets. But it has a notepad in it, and I had this with me at all times. And I decided, again, I didn't tell anybody I was going to do this. So nobody knew I was going to document everything down. And then everything changed. Everything escalated in ways that I had never, ever thought they would escalate. March the 20th, I'm actually standing right here. I know I'm standing here because I got a phone call at 12:55 p.m. around lunchtime. And I stand right here usually because this is where I get good reception. For some reason, I get good reception right here on this property. So about 3 or 4 minutes in the phone call, I hear a gunshot. Boom! It goes across, and it goes into the second story of the building. And I hear metal hitting metal and stuff falling down upstairs. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're actually shooting into my building now. And I got a video of that shot. And you can hear a little bit of a whistle on that bullet, so you know it's coming more right at you. So of course I get off the phone and the gunshots keep going on for about 5 minutes. And then there's a pause. So it seems like they're maybe done. And I decided I'm gonna go out front. I'm gonna see what's going on. I hope this is an accident, but if not, wow, I've really got a big problem. So like I said, the shots stopped for a period of a couple of minutes. And I start looking out the window, and I peek out the window like this, and I can see the pond right across the street. Nobody's out there. I can't see anything. Okay, I'm thinking maybe this is an accident. A city truck drives by. It's 1:09, and I decide I'm going to open the door and take a peek outside, and then this happens. So now I realize I am being shot at. And I decided to call the sheriff's department. I go in the garage area, make the call. Shots go on for another 5 minutes, then stop. And then I come in here and I start looking for bullet holes, see if any bullets actually entered the building on this floor. But I look all along the wall to see if I can find where the bullet may have hit in here. And that's when I found this little gem. It entered here, and it entered here and went into that stud. And so the sheriff's department is what cut this out and took the bullet. They used my tools though. So right now I'm standing where the bullet stopped in that stud. And so you can see the angle of how it it came across the bathroom to end at that stud. They weren't perfectly dead onto this spot, but they were pretty close, and they were clearly right in front of the building. Deputy comes out, and I tell him there's a shooter in the woods. And he says, okay, he's going to go take a look. And I said, that's a good idea. You might want to go make sure he's not standing out there and shooting at you. You know, that's what I was thinking, of course. He takes off, doesn't come back. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, you know what? They're taking him down. They're so busy putting guys in handcuffs. Maybe they got other stuff going on, but that's why he's not back yet. Well, 2 hours go by, and I said, okay, this is weird. So I called the sheriff's department, and I said, hey, is the guy coming back? Or is he really busy right now? And they said, well, yeah, he's not coming back because he said it was someone at the shooting range. He thinks that someone was just down at the shooting range. Like, there's been no one at the shooting range all day. There is no one at the shooting range. Plus, I have a bullet hole in my building. Okay? He needs to come back. I'm like, oh, sorry. We'll send someone out. They were very nice. They didn't sound like I just made them sound. They were sorry, and they sent someone out. So the deputy comes back. He's like, I'm sorry. He was a real cool guy. And he said, I'm sorry. I did not realize this. And so he takes a look at the bullet holes, or the bullet hole that I showed him. He takes a picture of it. I hadn't located the second one yet because I hadn't had a chance to go out front and take a look. And he takes a picture of it, and he tells me not to mess with the bullet hole, that the investigators would need to see about it. And I'm like, well, when are the investigators coming? And he's like, well, they're not coming anytime soon. I was just shocked. What do you mean they're not coming anytime soon? People are shooting at me. Then he tells me that he went to the property, the neighbors, and he knocked on the door. He could see people moving around, but if they don't answer the door, there's nothing else he can do. I was shocked. I was absolutely shocked. You telling me people can walk outside, shoot up a building, walk back in their home, shut the door and lock it, and then there's nothing you can do. He's like, that's how a lot of felons get away. I cannot believe this. I'm just shocked. He says he's going to make a report, but he doesn't know if it was an accident or if it was something that happened on purpose. And believe me, I know now that it happened on purpose. This is the second story of the building, and this is where the shot came in. That first shot came in, and you can see that cut on that. It's more horizontal, and it came, this is where I found the bullet. I think it came over here and hit right there, and then bounced off of something, and I found it on the floor right down here. That's where I found the bullet. So you can see that angle is much more of a southwest angle than the one that came in the bathroom. This is the same wall that it entered in the bathroom, except it came more like dead on. And so with that being the case, I'm not a ballistics expert, so I could be wrong. And if I am, let me know in the comments. But I think with that being the case, they shot from over here and they repositioned to shoot more dead on. That makes the case that this is a targeted shooting and not an accident. Whoops, we just lost control of our gun. So after the 20th, I had a lot of time to think over the weekend about just everything I've been through in the last several months and everything everyone's been through in the last several months. And I said, you know what? I got to make it my number one priority to bring this to an end, because I thought about the last several months and how it was all meant to attack me, and that they would blindly shoot into a building, not caring at all who they might kill or hurt or anything. They just shot into the building. And I will tell you with 100% honesty, I have no idea why they're even doing this. I have not had bad words, bad looks, nothing with any of the neighbors. I don't understand it at all. no complaints, no conversations that have been bad in the past 4 years at least. I cannot think of any time that I've had anything go on. So I have no idea. I really don't. Now you'd think when you had officers come into your property, knock on your door, you think, okay, I got away with it. They left. These people haven't stopped. They have not stopped. So on the 26th, I'm trying to put up green screening to create some privacy along the fence line. And I was backing up my truck to the fence line to put the green screening in. As soon as I shut my truck off, I'm hearing this. Again, deputy comes out. There's nothing he can really do other than knock on the door. The next day, a guy is disconnecting his trailer from his truck to bobtail home. And this happens. So I have been calling CID, which is the Criminal Investigations Division. The deputies, they have limited tools, so you really need to be able to get to criminal investigations is what I've been told. And they are hard to get a hold of. I call them, no return calls. I email, no return emails. But I just keep on trying. I just keep plugging away. And I even put together a big report, okay? Because I've made this my number one priority. And after one of the shootings, I have it supplemented to my incident report. So I call Friday morning, and the secretary tells me there is now an investigator at his desk. So I leave a voicemail. An hour later, 4 cars show up. And at the time I'm thinking, yeah, we got them. I'm so excited because I finally got someone out here. 8 days. It took them 8 days to come out, but I finally got them out here. They were all really super great guys, buff guys. I mean, these are power lifters. They bench 400 pounds. Super guys. But again, their hands are tied. Investigators go over the property. They can see where they're shooting from. No one's around. No one will answer. They can't do anything. They take the bullets. They tell me they're going to go out for analysis. But for right now, I can't do anything. And I tried to come up with ideas, like how we could get this done, because they kind of need to be able to see them on or have camera footage or something of them actually doing it or be in the act of doing it. And I came up with some ideas, and they said that was a no-go. They actually told me I watched too many movies. And, maybe they're right, but you try going months of finding out that you've been intimidated with a gun because someone's trying to shoot at you, and you're like, I'll do anything at this point. So now you would think you had these big buff investigators going all over your property in unmarked police cars. What are we going to do? We're going to stop shooting, right? No, it did rain for several days. I think that helps. But then on April 9th, this. April 10th, this. And April 15th, which is today, this. So this has not stopped. And yes, I am calling the sheriff's department. I am getting an incident report on this. I haven't got anything done. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to put this to a stop. So I have gotten a lot of different advice on what I should do. One of the things I've been told is when they shoot at you, you just take your gun out and you just shoot right back at them. You just shoot in that tree line and they'll never shoot back at you again because they'll be afraid of what you're going to do. And I get it. There's probably some truth in that. But it is illegal, and I don't want to go to jail. Second, I don't want to shoot at anything that I can't see. I don't want to just shoot into a tree line. I want to be able to see what I'm trying to shoot. I'm not going to do that. And the worst possible case is that you hit something you didn't intend to hit. That would be devastating, and I'm not doing that. I'm not going anywhere near that. There's got to be a better way to bring this to an end, and hopefully this comes to an end with no one getting hurt. That would be the best thing that could happen. I don't want them to get hurt. I want them to go and deal with the consequences of what they've done, but I don't want them to get hurt. Because even through all of this, I still believe in the justice system, the sheriff's department. I'm not dogging and ragging on any of them. They're working within what they can do. They're spread thin. They're spread really thin. And they don't work for the paycheck. They work because they're out here trying to actually help people. And I respect that. And I think they're the salt of the earth. I think the guys I've run into, some of the best guys I've ever seen. So, and I'm not even going to try to even begin to guess what their day must be like every day. I can't imagine. So in the future video, we're going to figure a way to go ahead and find a way to stop this and to do it, to help the justice system do what they need to do. We're going to brainstorm some things, because just sitting here, getting shot at, calling the sheriff's department, getting an incident report, knocking on a door, and going about our way, that's not working. We got to put something else in there. So if you have any ideas, please leave a comment below. I would really appreciate it. I might not reply to every comment, but I tell you what, I am going to read them. And maybe I'll find a gold one in there that can help me figure out what I should do. So with that, that's all I have for this video. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.